Hey, and welcome to the Jessica Paul podcast. I'm your host, Jess Paul, actress, manifestation expert, and mindset coach. And I'm here to share with you all of my secrets on confidence, success, and the magic of manifestation. If you're ready to dive in deep and see more success in your career, more money in your bank account, and more love in your life with a whole new level of freedom, then you're in the right place. I'm letting loose on everything you need to take back control of your life, up-level your mindset, and tap into your manifestation powers. I'm so excited that you're here. Hello, gorgeous souls, and welcome back to the second episode of the Jessica Paul podcast. It still feels crazy saying that. Like, as I said before, I've wanted to start this podcast for so long. And I mean, even just sitting here now, like it feels weirdly normal. And it's great. And guys, I just want to say such a huge thank you to everybody who supported the podcast and who downloaded the podcast straight away once I'd launched it. I mean, it's been overwhelming. Like, I've had so many of you download it from all across the world. Like, it's crazy. And it's just amazing to know that so many of you want to do this work, want to learn more about this process and make it work for you and change your life too, because as you obviously heard in my story in the first episode, it is life-changing work. And that's obviously why I've created this. So thank you to everybody who is supporting it and is continuing to support it and, sharing it with your friends, sharing it with your family, pushing it out there for people that you think would love to hear it too. It honestly means the world to me. And like I said, I mean, I'm literally just sitting down recording this podcast after seeing that it's surpassed 100 downloads in 3 days, like, of me releasing it, which is just insane. So thanks, guys, and I hope that you enjoy this episode. I want to just start off today's episode with a little life update on kind of some of the things that have been going on in my week and some of the things that are coming up. And one of the first things is that I'm actually coming to the end of my academy. This week is our final week for this round of the academy, and oh my gosh, so my academy is basically my baby. Like, I created this academy built upon my own method of manifestation, basically my whole experience on this work. Everything that I used, every secret that I used to get my life from where it was to where it is now is in that academy. So I absolutely freaking love teaching in this academy, and the results that come out of it are huge. Like, we have had students that have called in 20k raises in their jobs, and these are students, by the way, that had never done any money mindset before. We've had students that have manifested new job offers and manifested main roles in shows, and it's just been incredible to watch. And again, this is really down to your work on your mindset and that sense of empowerment and that ability to call things in. It's taken to a whole new level in the 3 months that we work together in this academy. So I just want to say a huge congratulations to all of my current students. And of course, all of my past students as well, because I keep up to date with you all and you're all continuing to smash it. But for those of you interested, the next round of the academy will be kicking off in January. So we're actually going to be opening the doors very soon. And we already have people signing up. We already have people putting their deposit down to begin in the new year, because we are going to make 2022 the best year yet. I mean, I say that every year, but it's true. We can always be striving for more. So anyway, more information on that will be coming out very soon for you all. Actually, one of the things that I forgot to mention in the first episode was my community on Facebook. I didn't really talk about this, but I've got a huge community on Facebook that's growing all the time, and we're actually going to have some really exciting things go on in there over the next few months in November and December. Got free challenges that I do, manifestation challenges, and free Q&As and workshops and things. It all goes on in there. So if you want to be a part of that, if you're not already a part of that, then come along and join us. You literally, it's just a group of freaking ambitious women who are all powerhouses, who big themselves up, who want the best for each other, and we're in it together. So come and join it. I'll put the link in the show notes so you can come and join us, because we're going to have lots of cool things go on over the next few months. So guys, let's dive straight into today's episode, which is titled Boundaries and Setting Higher Standards. So when I asked for your feedback on what you wanted to hear about on this podcast, this topic of boundaries kept coming up. So I was like, damn, we need to talk about your self-worth, right? We need to dive into this topic because you guys need to be loving yourself enough to set strong boundaries for yourself. And essentially, setting a boundary just means saying no to something that isn't aligned to you, right? And sometimes we can find this really hard. And some of the reasons why we find this hard is, well, number one, we worry what people are going to think of us, right? And this is a classic. And I was in this place for many, many years, right? Just worrying what other people were going to think of me. And because I worried so much what other people were thinking of me, like I forgot to actually think about what I wanted. And because of that, like I was setting a very low standard for myself. So that's like one of the reasons why we can find it hard to set a boundary. But another reason why we can find it hard to set a boundary is because we actually fear in that moment, if we say no to something, then we're going to miss out on something, right? We're going to lose something in that moment. And when we're in that place of real lack, it can be scary. And it's really hard in that moment to say no because of that. And this really does come down to your belief. And your belief in yourself and your faith in the universe, that it is always working out for you, right? So you've got these two things that are really making it hard for you to set boundaries. But this is a really important topic because essentially, when you set a boundary for yourself, it means that you're valuing yourself, right? It is a foundation for your self-love. And basically, guys, if we can value ourselves, respect ourselves enough, then we're going to be sending very strong signals to the universe to say, I'm ready, like I am worthy. And the universe is going to pick up on those signals and it's going to bring you everything you desire. Whereas if we set low standards for ourselves and we don't value ourselves, the universe is going to pick up on that and be like, okay, well, she's not ready. She's not worthy of it. And it's not going to give you what you want. So if you feel like you're in that place where you may be being taken advantage of, or not even that, maybe you just keep finding yourself in situations where you're like, I don't want to be here. Like, how did I end up here? This doesn't feel good to me. Then it's a sure sign that you need to be working on that self-worth and working on valuing yourself and working on setting those standards for yourself so that you can send those strong signals to the universe. So I really vividly remember a time, guys, where I fully learned how to set a boundary for myself. And this was after years of not really setting boundaries. And I want to talk to you about it because it's going to sound really freaking trivial. Like, it's going to sound so small. But what you need to know is that even the smallest of things that you set boundaries on are going to be huge in actually helping to maintain your energy. Because what happens is when we don't set a boundary, even on the smallest of things, we're draining our energy, and that's precious energy that we could be using to spend on calling in our desires, right? So I really remember about 4 years ago now, I was on tour with a show and we were weekly touring. So we were at a different city every week and it was quite tiring. And we were around the same people all the time. And in each city that we went to, we'd always have something planned, right? There'd always be like a new place that we'd be going to visit or a new bar that we'd be going to. And some of these things were really fun, right? And I looked forward to them and I really wanted to go to them with these people. And other times, I just really did not want to go, right? I needed my own space. Like, I was around these people so often. But on this tour, I really worried about what other people thought of me, right? I wanted to make a good impression. I wanted to make a good impression, not just to like my peers and the people I was with on the show, but to the creatives, to the team, to everybody. And so it wasn't just in a personal way, it was in a professional way too. And because I worried so much what they thought of me, I was just being dragged around to these different things. So I just remember waking up one morning and being like, do you know what? fuck this. Like, I don't actually want to be doing this. I don't want to be doing that thing. And so I set that standard and I set that boundary and I said no. And this was a really important moment for me, like, in my life, because I understood what that meant. And in that moment, I immediately felt amazing. It was like all of the energy had just flown back into me, and I no longer felt drained. And it was because I had stepped into my higher self in that moment. I'd actually listened to what my higher self actually wanted. I acted upon it. And that's what setting a boundary actually means. And the funniest thing about this, guys, is that when you really do set that boundary, nobody actually really cares, right? We put so much pressure on ourselves thinking, oh my gosh, what are they going to think of me? Like, they are in their own reality, trying to do the best they can in theirs. Like, they're not paying attention to that, right? And actually just let that help you. Just let that take some of the pressure off you, because everybody's focused on themselves, right? So that was what I found when I said no to this drink on tour. Like, nobody really freaking cared. And I use that really trivial example, guys, of just saying no to going out for a drink. But even for the bigger things, like if you really do feel like you're being walked all over at the moment, or you're really being taken advantage of by maybe a friend or a family member or a partner, like, again, this, if it's starting to drain your energy, it's a sign from the universe that is basically telling you you need to work on that self-worth. You need to understand that you are allowed to value yourself that much, right? You have permission to value yourself in that way because it's actually your birthright. And actually, there's a brilliant quote that I used. I think it was about a year ago on my Instagram. And the quote was, "Never apologize for becoming the most empowered version of you. Some people just can't handle that level of self-love." And I freaking love this quote because it's so true, you know? Some people just can't handle it. And the reason they can't handle it is because they're literally looking at you and you are reflecting back at them a quality that they wish that they had inside them too, right? So they're looking at that confidence, that empowerment, that self-worth when you really do stand up for yourself in that way. And they're wishing that they had that within themselves, right? And it is literally the only reason why people have anything to say. It's because it's triggered them. So really, you have to learn to stop being so apologetic about what it is you really want. And actually own your desires, own the things that you want in life, right? Other people own what they want. You get to own it too. And if you can be so unapologetic about what it is you want, actually you're going to find that more people respect you for that, right? And not only that, you're actually going to be helping more people because you're going to be influencing, right? You're actually going to be giving people permission to step into that standard themselves. And that's a really, really good thing. So basically, guys, setting boundaries equals setting standards equals a better quality of life equals more of your desires flowing in, right? To put it really bluntly. But again, like we've spoken about how you might find it difficult to set a boundary because you're worried about what other people think of you. But also, we want to take it back to that other reason in that you might fear that you might lose something. So you find it hard to say no because you're like, oh God, but what if nothing's going to come in replacement? So I'll just settle. And basically, you're just settling and nobody likes to settle, right? And as an example, one of my clients, she came to me and she's working in this 9-to-5 job, but she was also an actress. And this job was very comfortable. It was very stable. She was getting a regular income coming in. So she was staying in this job, even though it was not making her feel good, right? And she knew that she should have been setting that boundary and just going, do you know what? No, I'm not doing this anymore. I know that I need to be doing something else because, of course, she wanted to be making her living full-time performing rather than in this office job. And yet she wasn't setting that boundary, right? Because she was scared. And this is something that I see in so many people, in so many creatives, but not just in the creative industry, right? I mean, I coach a lot of entrepreneurs myself, and, you know, I've had it with coaches before who They've been offered money by a potential client, but they know the client isn't aligned to them, right? And then you've got this choice. Do I take the money because I need the money? Or do I set a boundary and set a standard and say no, and have the faith that the right thing is going to flow in, right? So anyway, this client of mine, she finally set this standard for herself. She just decided one day, she was like, actually, no more. And she cut down on her hours. And when she did that, everything flew in, right? And again, this is practice in your faith in the universe, okay? And I see this so much as well within the acting industry because, you know, there's this scarcity mindset where we're like, oh, you know, I might not get a job in a while, or I've not had a job in ages, so I'm just going to take whatever's given to me. And again, what you're doing there is you're really just signaling to the universe, I'm not worthy of more. Like, I don't deserve more. I'm not good enough for more. When you basically say yes to the things that aren't in alignment with your highest self, right? So these are all examples of why we find ourselves not setting boundaries and allowing people or things to walk all over us because we're scared that we're going to lose something. Whereas we need that faith in ourselves and in the universe that it is going to come to us. And when we do have that faith, like when we really do believe it, and we do come from that really abundant place, and we can say no with the understanding that it's all going to come to us, you actually make so much space for what is right to flow in. You know, that's what you're doing. You're getting rid of stagnant energy that's not supposed to be in your life by saying no and setting these boundaries so that you can make space. And I see this so much. Like I said, I saw it in my client. She got rid of her 9-to-5 job. She's now booked up until the end of the year with acting work, right? That's how quickly it can flow in. And it wouldn't have happened if the boundary hadn't been set. In fact, one of the biggest examples of this in my own life, which, my gosh, how could I forget, was when my ex-boyfriend walked away from me. And in that moment, I set a standard for myself when I really, you know, I went through a grieving process, and then I kind of went, you know what? No, I don't need this person back in my life. I don't ever want this person back in my life. And went through that forgiveness process. When I set that standard, that's when everything flew in, right? That's when the universe rewarded me with all of the money, all of the success, all of the freedom, all of the love, all of the new relationships. It all just came flying in because I had let go of something that was completely unaligned to me and not serving me at that time. But for years, you know, I'd stayed in this relationship thinking that it was the easiest thing for me, worrying that I might be in a lack place and lose something if I do walk away. And actually, it was the best thing for me. So whether it's because you are worried about what other people are going to think, or you are worried you're going to miss out on something if you don't say yes in that moment, right? You have to reprogram that mindset around your self-worth, because you have to believe that you are deserving of setting these boundaries. And you equally have to understand that you are an abundant soul and that there are so many opportunities that will flow in if you say no to the thing that is unaligned to you, right? So just valuing yourself in that way is so, so important energetically and in terms of calling in your desires. And a little tip from me would just be to make sure that you're hanging around with people who also set those strong boundaries too, right? Hang around with people who already respect themselves, because at the end of the day, if you're hanging around with people who don't set strong boundaries themselves or who judge you for setting boundaries, then you're just being trained in that. Like, you're being trained in low standards. So hang around with those people. Like, I literally had a conversation with a friend about this the other day, and she was telling me about the boundaries she wanted to set. And I said, girl, you're hanging around with the wrong people. Like, I am cheering you on right now. Like, I fully respect those boundaries that you want to set for yourself. And that's the type of person that you want to spend your time with, because then you're going to be trained in higher standards. And the universe loves that, because you're going to get more and more of your desires. So, my little bit of homework for you guys, like over this week, after listening to this episode, is to just ask yourself, where in my life could I be setting stronger boundaries for myself? Could I be setting higher standards for myself? And just journal it out. Ask yourself, where are you not setting those boundaries? Like I said, even the trivial, smallest things, like saying no to going out for that drink that you don't want to go to, or, saying no to doing that favor that you always do for a friend. Like, the small things count, because it all counts to how much energy you are draining, right? And you need that energy, girl. You need it, because that energy, it should be being put into the things that are going to enhance your life, because you are the most important person in your life, right? So I hope you guys have enjoyed this episode. And again, give me your feedback. Let me know how you found it. It's always good, once I've just started this podcast, to get an understanding of whether I'm giving you the right stuff, Obviously, I'm just talking from my heart here. Like, these are the sorts of things that go around my mind every single day, but I want to add value to your life. So let me know what you want to hear about. But I'm going to be back next week, guys. I'm truly loving this. Like I said, it just feels so normal to me now. And I hope you've enjoyed it as well. And go and have a gorgeous rest of your week. And I'll see you next week for the next episode. Thanks for tuning in, guys. If this episode resonated with you, share it with a friend who you think would love it too. And if you want to let me know how you found it, just screenshot this episode, add it to your Instagram story, and tag me at I am Jessica Paul, so that I can throw all the love right back at you. And of course, subscribe, hit those 5 stars, and leave a review to show your support and to keep the good stuff coming. Sending you so much love and gratitude from your girl Jess.